You see anything that says live on custom streaming? So technically we are live. And if so happens we are not live, I'm going to upload it and send it out and say it's live because sometimes tech has problems. But anyway, hey everybody, happy St. Patrick's Day. I am here with Dorita Hatchett, and she is the executive event producer, and we're here to ask her how she get into events. So
Oh my
Dorita.
God, Erica. Hello and welcome to everybody. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I've been watching you do this for a long time, and so I was honored, that you gave me the opportunity to be here with you today. Oh my God, how did I get in events? Like, I think I have the same event story that a lot of people have in terms of falling into it. I have always done events. I didn't know that I was doing events. I didn't know I was that kind of person. But just growing up, I would say I can think all the way back to seventh grade, whatever, planning like the Valentine's dance and this or that, or being on the student council. And I wasn't really good at sports, and my friends were, and I thought they're taking this stuff way too seriously. And so I just started being like the manager of the team and the organizer of this and that. And I've just always done it. And so much so that I was doing all kinds of things for people for free for a long time. And I remember the first time I did a big event for someone, and he was like, I feel like I should pay you. And I was like, give me whatever you want. And then he gave it to me, and then I worked like a dog. And then I realized, wow, something's wrong here. I really should be considering this. So I just started charging people. And I guess I did that for maybe 10 years. And then in 2003, I made it official and started my business and, dipped in and out. But I have done a number of various things for, gosh, nonprofits and sporting events and sport teams and corporate partners, and just pretty much took whatever business came my way. And it's funny, you and I are in some coaching programs where they talk about word of mouth is not a marketing tactic. But in since 2003, and it's 2022, 18 years later, I've never placed an ad. I've never had to
Wow.
do anything like that. It wasn't always steady, and there was always, probably I think about what I could have missed out on by not doing it. Um, but word of mouth has just kept me going from client to client.
That's great. It's like word of mouth is not a form of advertising. I think that's all social media is friends telling friends about something they saw or something that's great. But like, wow.
I get that, and I think for someone who's experienced it for a while, it used to be a hard thing to hear. And I get it now, though, Erica, because you realize that if you don't have people in the pipeline and you don't have a stream of people waiting to work with you, you really can experience some dips and some silent times. And I have definitely experienced those. I've been where it's been dead silent. In 2014, I started doing it full time. Like, it was all I did. And that's when I realized my prices weren't right because I couldn't really live off of it. And so, yeah, I didn't know the very first year that most people really already had their event stuff together. So if I didn't have dates by November, I wasn't going to get a date until maybe February. And so the first year in business full time, when I went November, December, January without a dime, was very telling. And so that I get it because of that. Definitely get it.
So now my big question is, been doing it for free because you loved it. And what was it that made you say, I can charge for this? Or how did you realize the friend that offered you money wasn't enough money for you to live off of?
So I think structurally, and I didn't know this is what it was then, but I do now. And it's one of the things that when I work with people, I call myself a strategist. Really, people really do come to me for events, but at the end of the day, they need a strategy. They need to know, really fundamentally, Erica, why are they doing what they're doing? There are so many people who, like, they watch someone do something and they think I can do that, and they want to do it, and then you start talking to them about it and they really don't know what they're doing. So how
Yep.
did I know? Number one, because they would call me and just say, "Oh, hey, this is really simple. I want to do a golf tournament and blah blah blah." Well, I had to do all the research, and then I really had to help them figure out their why. I had to help them do their budget. I had to help them figure everything out. So it wasn't as simple as just go produce a golf tournament. And I think most people think that's what it is. And they end up having all kinds of structural issues in their organization or their business. Um, they don't even have a mechanism to capture leads. We can have the biggest event. We can throw the biggest event. There's thousands of people there. You didn't get one email address. You didn't capture it. You are text messaging people, but you don't have any information. And so that's how that's where I come in. And I struggled my first 2 or 3 years because I was selling strategy. People weren't buying strategy. And, they say, hey, sell them what they want and then give them what they need. And so when I started to really reconcile for myself and got out of my head, like, what is it I want to sell them? I know they need this and they didn't want it and it wasn't resonating with people. And so honestly, I went back to talking about events. And then they came back, flooded back. And I got the chance then to change how I did it. And I would say, all right, here's what comes with what I sell. And then I would put those things on there and they would say, oh no, we got that or whatever. So I just learned how to finesse my questions, my intake, which was, simply, so when we do this, how are you planning to handle that? And I would just back people into the fact that they didn't really know and they needed it, and then they understood why they needed it. I'm into sustainability. I really don't particularly care to produce one-off events for people unless there's a reason for it. I like events that are of impact, that help people grow or help people move their project forward or help people bring awareness to their mission or their impact. And so I don't particularly like social functions, but I will do anything like meetings, conferences, online. I love online, that's where I met you. Um, but yeah, anything of substance. And therefore, I have had the opportunity to sit in the background of some really cool stuff and to be in a planning setting where I always say that I watch people bare their souls every day and tell me the most amazing visions that they have. And just the stuff people think about when you're like laying in bed at night. When you first wake up in the morning, Erica, and you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, I got to do this today. But man, there's this thing out here. And there's this thing where you might have a journal or it might be in your phone and you're taking notes. And every time you have a thought, you write something down. And a lot of people have that thing that they never end up doing because they don't know how. And they don't know how it's going to manifest. And so when I get a chance to be in that moment with someone, that was when I knew I was onto something.
It took me a long time to figure this out for myself. How did you decide that it was your intake form that you needed to rework to get your customers? When you knew that instead of calling it strategy, you knew you had to call it event planning and you reworked your intake form.
People were saying, oh, it's discovery or whatever, or strategy sessions. And, for me, I just decided to make it easy because the people that I work with, and it's really funny because they are the kind of people that initially, until they launch it, they really don't want other people to know they're doing it. They're very sensitive about that. And so, really, it's just conversations. I actually even stopped doing a form in their face. I'll do it if I'm online, but I have a good memory. I know where I'm going with it. I know what I need to know to decide if I can help a person or not. And so, yes, I do strategically ask the same questions in different ways to different people based on who I think they are. Um, I let people guide me a little bit because I used to be very heavy handed about it. Like it had to look like this, and then I would over talk a situation. Um, and I've learned now that it really, if you just put a few prompts out there and you're quiet, people will tell you what they want you to know.
Yeah, I had to learn that the hard way. a few things that I put out there is I help with automation, setup of RSS feed, setup of your event platform, and nobody knew what I was talking about. I get so excited about the tech of it that nobody had a clue what I was talking about. So when I went through my intake form, everybody's like, "What?" Or on my webpage, I would give so much information that maybe they didn't need me. I was like, "Wow."
Well, yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And I used to do that. Let me tell you what, it's so simple. Like how to produce a golf tournament. You could Google that, and the information is there. What I do differently is how I do it. And, um, and I'm priced differently. We're all over the place. Like you could find a golf course maybe for 25 bucks a player, or you could find a golf course that might be $200 a player, in addition to all of the fees that you want. Well, I'm probably up on the higher end. We're going to find a nicer course and we're going to do it nicer. And I'm going to make sure that your people leave loving what you did so much, that you're going to make more money. They want to come back year after year. There's no doubt who you are and what you're trying to do. That's a difference that I make. Other people don't do it. So I went from doing my first one, Erica, for zero. Some guys at my church wrote me in and they just said, "Hey, meet us for breakfast." And we sat at breakfast and they were like, basically, it wasn't mean, but they were like, "Take notes." And because they knew what I would do. And they were talking about this event and what you do. And I asked a lot of like dumb questions and I didn't know anything. And while they were talking, I was like looking it up and literally before we left the table, I had a timeline and I had everything organized and they knew I would. And I pulled it off and I was like, "What is this? Like this, what? This is easy." And I kept doing it. So now I have like a structure and I would share it with people in order to sell. And they'd say, "Oh, we'll call you back." And I'd look up and they were doing it and they were using my stuff.
Yep,
So, what a
had
lot
to
of
happen.
people won't do is now, I don't know many people who do this, but I do it. I don't care. You're not my client if you don't want to do it. But I charge for the initial conversation. And I say, "You want me to come in there and answer questions and tell you things that you don't know." So I've already done a third of the work. Because once I tell you what I got to tell you to get the answers from you, we're halfway to the planning part. We're halfway there. The
Yep.
only thing left is for you to say yes and let's execute. So I charge. And then if you don't use me, great. I don't feel bad. You don't feel bad. There's a fair trade here. And if you use me, we'll deduct what you paid me on the balance and then we'll just go forward and do it. And I've had people go, "What?" And I'm like, "It's okay. You can go. I mean, it's okay." And they'll go and maybe they'll do one. Generally, I'll get a call back and then I may be more expensive.
That's what I like about you. When I met you, I knew that right away that yes, you are a very good strategist. You are brilliant and you're very helpful. Love that. One strategy I've heard is putting your initial consultation on Fiverr. And I'm thinking, would someone who wanted to pay for like a high ticket consulting, would they go to Fiverr? And I'm thinking, no, they wouldn't. But I do like the strategy of just offering that, like maybe on your website or having that be a part of that initial intake form.
You know what, Erica, though, and honestly, the first thing popped in my head when you said that was, who's your client? Because I think you're talking to the wrong person. I think that you need to sell to the planner. For example, I was sitting here, you said it, and I was like, "Oh, dog, I need that." Like I didn't know you did that one piece, when you're talking about like the registration and all that. I didn't know you did that. And I need that. And I have client and here's things, there's parts and pieces to what I do. And I don't want to know some things. And some stuff is just too much. I look at what you do and I mean, you invest so much time and energy and knowledge into what you do. And I realized a long time ago, even though we've never talked about it, if you start talking to me about streaming, I will listen and I will take very good notes. And then I'm going to call Erica and I'm going to say, "Erica, I need you on my team for this project." And I'm going to tell people, yes, I do that. I used to turn down business all the time because I couldn't do every single part of it. And I have really learned I don't want to do every single part of it. And I no longer do every single part of it. And I'm even moving more and more and more out of, I don't do any parts of it, you know, is that I can put teams together that will get it done for you. And I mean, I'm picking the cream of the crop. And so I have a lot of, I work off of collaborations. I don't have any employees. Everything I do is with subcontractors and collaborators and partners and JV partners. And, I just go to people and I'm like, wow, here's a big opportunity in all the pieces. What I don't know is the streaming, or what I don't know is this. Yeah, and what do you need for that to happen? And can I make that work in a package? Um, because what I didn't know, Erica, and I do know now, is that I have built a reputation of being trustworthy on who I refer. I have built a reputation, even when I don't know you. They met me through someone they know who verifies for people that I give you trusted resources. So when I say, oh, I have the person I want you to call to make your funnel or do your automation or to do your streaming or whatever, nobody questions you. So the benefit to you working with me is that you get a good sale and you didn't have to sell it.
That's good. That's great because I actually have a hard time explaining what really simple syndication is because I love RSS feeds. Like when you can set something up and have it run by itself and you don't have to do anything else ever. I love that.
But and here's what happens. In layman's terms, is that they never knew why they needed it to begin with. So you set it and forget it means what? Like set what and for what? Why? Like literally people's mind is that far back. So yeah, it's not about, nobody does they'll value what you do when they know why they need it and they
Mhm.
see what it does for them. And so some of that could be it too, is you have to work backwards. Like, how did we get here? Well, this was an RSS feed. This is what it does for you. Oh, I need that. They don't really care what happened in the middle. And that's what happens. You have sort of a silent role to some degree. They don't want to know. Even if they did know, you would blow their minds and they might go, nah. Here's what they'll do. Okay, okay, I'll call you. Okay, I'll call you if I need that. Right, right. They'll just be like,
Yep.
oh, okay, okay, okay. I'm smart. I get that. I get that. Oh, that's cool that she does that. That's cool.
That is
Yeah.
so
So
true.
we have to make it make meaning to them. Like, why do you need that?
Yeah.
Or how do you get that right there? And I've just learned about several things: automation, funnels, list building, emails, all of that. They don't want to know how that's done.
Yeah.
Sometimes what I have to do is, I've learned, we do the work, we get the result, and then I tell them. One, because I always want to keep myself in a position to leave. I don't ever want to be staying with somebody forever. That's not what I do. I love start and end times. Um, and I don't want to leave people where, have you seen people pay money for stuff and then they don't even know where it is? They don't know their password. They don't know how to get into it. Someone else made their website and now someone else has to make a new website when they don't work with that person. I don't like that person anymore. And that person took their money. And I've heard every story in the book. And so I really try to just give you your stuff. And sometimes I'm around a long time and I have it, but I'm constantly, you're not going to find people who won't tell you that I'm always like, did you keep that? Is that it? Do you have a folder? Are you keeping this? I'll put it on a drive and it's like, when we're done, here's your stuff right here, here.
Yeah.
Now you don't know what to do with it, but at least you don't have to start over when you find the next person.
Yeah.
But they
That's
don't
very
want to know.
yeah.
You
I've
have to
worked
make, either make what you do sexy and clear, or stop telling them. You got to sell it to the middleman. You're the middleman in here. You are just like, all the people who are producing know that their clients need what you do. So just
oh,
let us add it on to what we do.
okay. Well, anytime you ever want to talk about streaming, I'm here for you because there's some
Absolutely.
great stuff that's happening with streaming. And
And
I
you know,
love it.
everybody's a podcaster, everybody's a streamer, and I don't mean that, you know, it just is. And it's so automatic now that that's what everybody thinks they want to do. I just think we have to just position it differently and show up in a different slot. You're showing up too early in what they need. And even in just finding out how can I partner with the people who are, as they're kind of building and they're cultivating. And there's that culture of I'll teach myself. So how can you find them at the moment they need you, and how do they find you at that moment is probably the one the one major little shift you might do that I think will just blow up what you're doing.
I believe that. Thank you.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I don't, and I honestly, it sounds awful, but I really have thought that way. I don't need to learn that. I know someone who does that. That's how I think. I don't need to learn that anymore. And we started out learning that, right? You know me. You know we come from the same space for the last 2 years. Is that I could have, but I don't need to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like ever since my company did a big layoff when COVID started, I told myself that I am going to relearn hypertext markup language, HTML. When I first started learning it, I couldn't stand it. I still hate it. And 2 years have gone by. I still haven't learned it. And my husband tells me, you know, that there's other coding languages out there. You don't have to stick with HTML. I'm like, oh. And that's when people come to me and they ask me about hosting events and they tell me that it's a daunting task. And I say, no, it's not because automation is your friend. And they say, that's another tool that I do not want to learn. I'm like, yep, I get that now.
No, so automation is your friend,
It is.
and Erica is their friend. And that's how clients, if clients saw you that way, where I forgot what you just said. Here's what's funny. I don't know what HTML stands for and never
Hypertext
wanted to.
markup
Do
language.
you know I've never looked it up either? I don't care. Like, that's the funny part. And so it's like, oh my God, I need someone who cares.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all that is. That's all that is. I love it. I love it. I love it. And
When
it's
people
funny
hear,
because, the space you live in, what's funny is you've been going straight to consumer, and you should stay right in the space of producers.
that is very good advice. I've always marketed to coaches and event planners, and both of them have told me, yeah, I don't know what that is. I have no clue what you're talking about. For a long time, I had a hard time explaining what automation is. But for me, when you can set up something and make it go by itself, and you only have to do it that one time, I was like, why doesn't everybody love this?
Well, no, event planners love it because that's how we live. We begin with the end in mind. Everything we do is repetition. The only thing that's different is the nuances for the client and what they want. The steps for the most part and the checklist is exactly the same every time. And if you can figure out how to automate that process, everybody would flock to you and you would like have so much money you wouldn't know what to do with it. The issue is, why do we need that? Because we know we can get it done just like this.
Hmm.
And so, you know, if it's not knocking off steps, or um yeah, lead with the result. That's it. Lead with the result. Cuz I don't want to know that. And with the amount of stuff that I've had to learn, know and do and keep track of, I especially at my age, I just, whatever, just made a little, but I don't want to learn that anymore. And unless I feel like I have a skill gap that's costing me money,
Hmm.
I don't want to learn. I don't want to be behind tech wise anymore. I learned these last 2 years to stop being behind and stop being slow. But in general, no. So I think that one little tweak, and we can certainly talk about that, especially with event planners, is that we are very structured people, and automation and structure is helpful to us.
My husband told me that my assumption that people who tell me that they are event planners are probably not event planners because you can be whoever you want on the internet. So you got to know who you're talking to.
Now, event planning, I will tell you, is a profession that anybody can say they are, and on some level really can be. that's why when someone says I'm an event planner, it depends on what you need. That's why I'm
Mhm.
saying, like, and I tell event planners who come to me like, I want to work with you. I'm like, well, what kind do you like? So if you're a social event planner, we have nothing to learn from each other because I don't want that. Now, I love a social event planner because people will come to me, and a part of what we do requires a lot of the elevated decor and things like that. I sub it out now. I used to really make myself sick because I would have to do that part, and I don't like it and I'm not good at it. And it's not my strong suit. I know what I like and I can communicate what I like, but I do not want to go to a store and buy balloons and flowers and in my head envision this thing and all of that and get it done. I don't want to do it. Could I if I really, really got pushed up against the wall? But honestly, I would, now that I know more about the right clients for me, I wouldn't take the client.
Yeah.
I would pass the client or I would sub it out. I wouldn't take the client.
Mm.
So
So,
everybody's an event planner for the most part, but like professional event planner could be a better way to ask. What kind of events do you plan? For you, more so a lot virtual, you know, yeah,
yeah,
which
love the
eliminates a
virtual.
lot of people. And in our event planning industry, what we're dealing with right now is a lot of people want to go back face to face. Our industry is suffering right now. A lot of people never went virtual and they are just so happy and clamoring to get right back into it. Um, and certain things we do, you got to do in person. So there's so many, there's 100 levels to event planner. So you should ask first and foremost, do you plan events online at all? Any virtual events at all? But your system helps people, I think, bigger than that. And yeah, we can talk about that. Hmm.
Okay. That's great. So what I'm getting from you is how you became an executive event producer is you started with your right fit clients and then you made connections, like good connections with people to get things going. I like that.
Yeah, I've been a relationship builder all my life, and then when I actually kind of paid attention to what it was, I think people will say, "Okay, I'm gonna go network," and I don't think that's a location. I don't think that's a thing you go do. I think it's who you be,
Oh,
um, and I network, which means, and it's what you consider it to be. Some people are very much, selfish about networking. And it's all about walking around and just saying, you just show up in a space and you start passing out your card, you know. And people who make it an analogy towards dating, it's like, at first, I used to say you wouldn't start walking up and just start talking and saying, "Hey, let's just go, let's go to bed or whatever, or let's get married or something." Now I watch a lot of TikTok and I see people do it. So, I mean, I don't know that I have to find another way to describe this, but it's just very forward to assume without having any kind of a quick conversation. And that's why people teach those things where how can you say what you do like in a sentence, I do what, for whom, how, so that.
mhm.
And then the next question you probably could ask is, um, tell me what I can do for your business. Tell me what I could do to help your business. Or what is it that you need in your business? Or um, tell me what kind of person would be a good referral to your business. And people love to talk about their business. So when you put it back on them and you ask questions, and my friend calls me the questionologist, is that I am an introverted extrovert. I'm actually an introvert. And you know me, you might not think that at all. But I can show up in a space and do what I got to do. And then, like, I love to be by myself, but I can show up. And if I go to a networking event, it's for me, my goal is not to hit the entire room. My goal is to hit a couple of, if I get especially if I'm on a roll, I get a couple of good contacts, I feel very good about the entire evening. But I'm going to ask a lot of questions. And they'll tell me something, and I'll say, tell me more about that. Or they, like you, all that stuff you said, I would be like, I don't know what you said. And I would be like, so what is that? And why do I need that? I'm going to ask you, I'm going to use those few minutes to get to know you better because I may never see you again.
No.
And I could have missed an opportunity. And the thing that changed my network in life, Erica, was that I know for a fact, I mean, whatever people's belief systems are, that nothing happens by chance for me. So I do believe that every person that I meet is either intended for something to happen or that is a resource for someone else. So I pay attention. And so my level of intentionality is because talking to you today, promise you, probably within, it's honestly like 10 days. I just don't like putting that pressure on myself. But in 30 days, somebody's going to ask me about what you do. And I'm going to be like, oh my God, I just had a long conversation with Erica. Happens 100% of the time. And when I started paying attention to that in my life, then it started really showing up for me. So I know you're not for me, but I don't disregard anybody. So I know in the moment, I don't see how there's a relationship, but I will talk to you because I know there's someone else who's intended to have a relationship with you, and I will make the referral. And that's what I mean earlier about people will tell you that I have a reputation for making good referrals and vetting people and saying, I'm not sure if this is it or not, but I think this is what you said you did. And here's what I think she said she needs. And then I'm going to go back to this person and I'm going to say, okay, here's what she said she does. Here's what you said you need. Here's why I think the two of you would be good. I clean it all up before I ever put y'all together.
You're a linchpin.
And pretty much nobody really has ever said this was bad ever. They may choose to do it later, technicalities or whatever, but no. I mean, and because I know that, I take it seriously.
I like that. Like, yes, sometimes you're very quiet, but when you do speak, you're very profound. It's like you speak when you know the answer. You make me feel like you know the answer. Yeah. So,
Thank you.
let's talk about this Final Four contract that you just picked up, because I was really excited when you told Facebook about it. So I was like, yay, because I felt like I got to be a part of it because I saw the post. So let us know about that.
Well, and I'm like that, Erica. I think all of y'all are a part of it. Seriously. Um, after I tell you in just a second about it, but it was like after I took it, I'm gonna tell you I had a couple of days of I don't know what the feeling was. I felt weird. I didn't know if I really wanted it or not because it immediately said I might move out of a space with you guys.
Oh,
And that was a hard, I didn't know that I felt that connected to the world and to the community like that. And it meant I had to make some hard decisions and let some scenarios go and um, some, just the level of involvement I had, I wasn't going to be able to show up the same way. And so, yeah, but, full circle moment in my life about all the things I've done have continually led me to some really big opportunities, really later in my life. And I zigzag everywhere. Things sound good, I do it. And I never really had like a plan. Um, I did my first 20 years. I was a college student activities professional because as soon as I graduated, I got the job. You know, I really was intending to go in the military as an officer out of as soon as I graduated from college, and I never made it to the final test because I took the other job. And so I did that and I was good at it and I stayed for a long time and I went to another institution and did it and built their program. And then, the last several years I started doing stuff with my church and we traveled the world and I thought this is great. And I left and went to work for my church and it was like it was awful but wonderful at the same time. And then it made me think, oh, do your own thing. So I bobbed and weaved on that. But in 2016, I applied to be the volunteer coordinator for the Final Four in Houston, and I didn't get the job. And I went back and I just said, hey, to a couple of different people, just give me an opportunity, even if I volunteer. I just wanted to be substantive so that I had an experience here. And so they did, and I did their volunteer party. So as soon as the Final Four was over, they were ready a couple of days later to walk into a party. And so I did that and met a couple of great people. So the Super Bowl came in 2017. And as an event person, couldn't get in the door. Knew a lot of people, couldn't get in. Nobody was helping. And so reached out to the guy that was over at the party. And it turned out that was kind of his zhuzh. And he was like, hey, give me a call and come by the office. And I went by and I ended up being the parking and transportation manager for the Super Bowl in 2017. And yeah, so that just led to one day I was deleting emails. I was mass deleting emails. And as I was about to delete this whole row of emails, a name popped out at me. And I just stopped and I took it off and I kept deleting. And I went back, and the lady who didn't give me the job in 16 invited me to talk to her about the job now. And so I'm the senior community relations director for the 2023 men's Final Four in Houston.
Right.
Super excited.
Yeah.
And it's a culmination of a lot of things. That job is everything. It's events, it's relationships, it's community, it's building a program that was established, how to make it bigger and better, and like who to call. I mean, it's really like digging into everything I've ever had to do already. And it's in a year, but every day I realize it is coming so fast. It is coming very fast. So super excited about that.
It's like it's okay for you to grow and know that everyone is not going to grow with you. And if you want to be a multi-billionaire, that's okay too. Go ahead and do that. Like you don't have to be sad that you're leaving a few people behind. I'm going to be glad that I got to know a billionaire. I'm sorry, a multi-billionaire. Yep.
Who then turns around and goes, I need automation. RSS feeds. Why? I don't know.
I
Yeah, it
truly
was
didn't.
tough because we had to dig in. And there were a lot of people who didn't, and that's okay. But the community of people that we got involved with, like back in March of 2020 and on, um, very special for me. I mean, and I don't know how other people take it, but I mean, till the day I leave this earth, I mean, it was one of the most pivotal moments in my life was these last 2 years. And clearly it was for everybody in terms of what was happening and going on. But I just mean in terms of growth and my business and, a lot of my family has passed on. And so just having um, that camaraderie and really people cheerleading for you. And I can say that I think people were at their most vulnerable and their most authentic selves during that. People just showed up saying, how can I move forward? And what do I need to do? And so that was just really cool to see. And literally, like now when people say I don't like online or anything, I'm like, what is wrong with y'all? You get an opportunity to just show up and you don't if you show up, you should show up fully. Um and so, participating in things and talking and sharing and, we know about each other's businesses and what's happened and how we grow and what we want to do and what we're afraid of and what we're excited about. And everyone's sitting in the background. You see these like notes from people going, you go, girl, get you. I see you got your thing today, girl, go. Um, just meant the world and to meet people from all over the world. Um, I say COVID took my business global.
Yeah.
I have a global business. I couldn't say that before. In my mind, I wanted to move around. In my mind, I wanted to go here, go there. And so now I have the thought where I want to be able to work from anywhere with anybody. And that has to be, for the most part, virtual in order to make that happen. If I want to pick my computer up and travel the world and still service my clients, It's virtual.
Yeah.
And
You
that's
know,
what makes you valuable and everyone who does this work so valuable. We can stay relevant now when before we were locked down to space and place.
yeah. Yeah, when I first got started with events, a lot of people told me that they didn't want me to rent their venue. So if COVID wouldn't have happened, I probably wouldn't have done as much with virtual events because I'd still be trying to host in person with a lot of people telling me no. But with the internet, people don't care, or the internet doesn't care if what you want to do, or if anybody else is doing the same thing, or what time of day or night. Like you can do it because it is virtual, it's online, and other people may be interested. I love that.
I tell everybody, especially people who've been struggling to get their project off the ground, even locally, and there's people here and they're just like, I don't know anybody. You can know everybody. You can know whoever you want to know. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me that some part of most businesses, especially information based businesses, coaching, speaking, training, authors, all of that don't have a huge virtual component to what they're doing. And it's everything now from simply you can make choices. Do I need to have a quick meeting with you and jump in my car and expend 2 hours of energy for 15, 30 minutes? I don't. I don't. I can be in my car in front of another next most important meeting and talking to you virtually.
Mm.
And I think I know people's minds all over and they say we can't really multitask. And I've been reading that and now I'm kind of believing it a little bit. But um, I don't know about multitask, meaning you're doing multiple things at the same time. But I mean multitask in terms of I could be headed to this next thing that I got to go to and still get this other thing accomplished. I plan my day sometimes. I will go somewhere 2 hours early and sit in the parking lot and take my next two meetings and then walk into that meeting. And I've been very productive. And before I couldn't do that,
It's
you
nice
know.
and good planning. But you're not a procrastinator. You like to get things
Oh
done.
my God, yes, I am. Please do. No, I am. But I'm not a backtracker. Like I'm too lazy to go back and forth. I don't want to do that. Like I think about my entire day and I build it so that I pack it all up maybe and I put it all in the car. And when I leave, like yesterday, I went to a noon meeting and then it was another one and then it went long, so it pushed me to my next one. And I thought I normally would have gone back home, then I'm like, nope, I'll go over to this office and I'll do this for a little while and hang out until it was time to do this. And I didn't come home till like midnight last night. But it was all strategic and I make the circle and I make it back to my house. But I don't zigzag across
Yeah.
anywhere. That's the one thing I plan out. I don't like zigzagging.
Just because a meeting is online is not a good excuse to lollygag and draw out the meetings. They should have their agendas ready. I don't
Why
like
have I been late to some online meetings? That's crazy. That's when I laugh. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. I just have totally underestimated when to walk downstairs. That's funny to me. I think that's hilarious.
yeah. Well, Dorita, could you tell everyone where they could find you online? Where's your favorite social media hangout spot?
I'm old school. I'm Facebook because that's just where my people are. That's where when I'm talking, um, my credibility is there. So if you want to know anything about me, and you find me on Facebook, at DL Hatchett or Dorita Hatchett. I do have a business page that's actually not as strong on my personal page. I'm pretty much an open book. Um, I'm nerdy and all of that. I'm silly. And the stuff I say is the stuff I would say. I'm just who I am on there. My website is dlhatchett.com, and that's DLHATCHETT.com. And yeah, I have website shame right now. It doesn't really reflect all that I'm doing. And I don't have any of the Final Four stuff on there. It's branded, and that's not something that we, kind of, there's nothing anyone else on the outside needs to know about that. Um, I will do some projects in the community where we have a big read to the Final Four. And, our goal is about 28,000 students going through that program next year. And we'll do a legacy project where we'll do a leave behind at some facility in the city. Um, but, that's the kind of work we do where it's very kind of specialized. So I don't put any of that on there. But on my website, you can join my email list, and I'll let you know when I have some things coming up, some summits or some workshops. A lot of times, what I'll do is I will promote other people's events. I don't put on a lot myself. And then there's an opportunity for you to make a 15 or a 30-minute conversation with me where we can just talk about what you're working on and maybe see if that's something that I can help you with your strategy and how to move that forward. And what that looks like is um, you've been sitting there with some vision that you haven't brought to light. It could work. You just don't know how. I call it your big idea. And we really talk about 4 steps to get you moving and to get it going and get your business started, to launch that product, launch that service, launch what you've been trying to do that's keeping you up at night.
That sounds really good. And I like the community service that you're doing with the 28,000 students. It sounds like really great for them.
What's funny is I don't mean I don't like working with kids in a bad way. I think there's a whole commitment to children. And so it's like having a pet. I would love a dog, but I'm never home. It would just be bad to get a pet. So I'm like that about children. I really try to stay. I've done children stuff and I just try to stay away from it. And I keep finding myself in it. And so when I took this job, I started laughing and I'm like, I work so hard not to get caught up in children's programming. And I looked up and I was like, I got to do what, like 30,000 children? What? So I don't know. Maybe I need to give it up and realize, maybe this is a thing.
I'm thinking it's going to be really great for them. So it's like good thing for them that Dorita was there to help them get that.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you. I'm gonna take that with me. Thank you.
it's how I feel lucky that you had the time and the availability to hang out with me this morning. So I
Thank
think it's
you.
what is it 9 where you are now?
Nine like 9:45.
Yeah. So for some people that's really early, and some people have told me no because they're on Central Time, I'm on Eastern Standard, and they couldn't do it live because it's too early.
I did think about that, but hey, I was so excited to be on and be asked. And I mean, you've done some great shows, and I watch you. I'm always like I'm a replay person, and then I'll be in the background going, "Oh my God, you did that." Um, but yeah, and I do. I really just try to reach out and keep my tentacles out because I know you're doing something special. And for real, let's talk offline about that because I think that, there's a whole blow up moment for you if that's what you want.
Okay. Yeah, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Hmm.
Well, I guess I gotta let you go now because I've held you here for over 45 minutes.
Thank you. It's been fun.
All right. Well, thank you again, and everybody reach out to Dorita on Facebook. Oh,